It's a lot of fun to watch videos, but it's a lot more fun to actually participate in the learning. I'm going to show you how Patreon helps you do that. If you head over to my Patreon page, and you'll find a link in the description below, you can actually participate in live streams, you can direct message me, you can send me load development information to take a look at, and a whole lot more. I'm going to show you some excerpts from the live stream that we just had, and I hope to see you over there. Enjoy.
Before you travel to a match, you do your load development. And you have to decide on best load. You've also preloaded all your ammo, which cannot be altered other than the seating depth. So why do I bother taking a chronograph, and how do I implement it? So this is probably a pretty good question, because I'll say John's probably not the first person that's asked me this. So here's what he's talking about. Sorry. So like when I went to nationals, I took like 540 rounds or something with me. I can't change the powder charge. I can't do anything with the brass. All I can do is change seating depth. So the question being, if I can't do anything to necessarily affect velocity, why am I bothering to check velocity? And I guess in the grand scheme of things, I just like to know if in those conditions, it's shooting roughly the same velocity, because it can change. I also want to make sure that I'm still getting good SDs and ESs there. And it's probably just more peace of mind knowing what the velocities are at. And if for some reason I see a change, then while I can't change the velocities in any way, I can definitely consider the fact that I'm more likely to possibly need a tuner change on it than if everything chronoed out the same as when I left here. The other thing is also, I rarely, and I don't really talk about this too much, but I rarely take whatever a load I develop here. In fact, I can tell you for like the last 3 or 4 years has never been the same load that travels with me. I almost never travel with the same load that I develop. So even if, I don't know, let's just say 3 days before I start loading for something like Nationals or Southwest, uh, I typically will look at the conditions of where I'm going and make a calculated adjustment off of what my known load here is. So depending on, whether it's dry, humid, hotter, colder, I'll either drop or raise a tenth or two, one way or the other. So part of the chronograph at that point is seeing how close to an adjustment, a correct adjustment I made when I arrive at wherever it is. So hopefully that helps answer your question there, John. Brass availability is getting better, but I still have a hard time finding it in quantities I'd like to buy. With Lapua brass, how big of a difference have you seen between brass lots, number of firings, annealing, or capacity? Have I seen any difference in quality pre or post COVID? So let me address the first thing, which is availability. And if you guys read any of the stuff that I've read, obviously Vista's talked about increased pricing on everything, primers 10%, powder like whatever 10 or 15, 7, 10, 50, I can't remember percent. Everything's supposed to just be that much harder to find this year and that much more expensive. And I know I've talked about it here before, but if you guys are not using shootingbot.com to try to find powder, primers, bullets, brass, all that kind of stuff, you are really missing out. And I know that obviously over the last couple of years, more and more people have joined it, and it is sometimes hit or miss, admittedly, depending on how much stock a particular company has. But I've had more people have really good success finding it at some point with Shooting Bot versus trying to somehow manage it on their own. And I have a video that I've done on Shooting Bot in the past where I walk through the process, but it's a free account. There's nothing to you. He basically, it's a referral service, right? So he scrubs all of these different sites that we all use. You tag whatever product you want. As soon as it's available, boom, you get a text. Like I've had 4 texts today for I've had CCI 200, CCI, or no, I've had three, sorry. I've had CCI 200s, and then I had two different instances of uh, federal 210s come up for primers. So, it just ping whatever, sir, whatever there's email or text or whatever you want. It'll just keep notifying you. And that is the fastest way to, I can't say guarantee you're going to get something, but at least have the best chance at getting something. Yes, John.
Do they vet the suppliers? Because there's a lot of fraud suppliers up here in Canada.
Yes. To my knowledge, so I've talked with the guy since he first started the program, and it's one of the reasons why you don't see a ton of vendors on there. There's, I think, 7 or 10 like verified vendors on there, and at least from anything I've seen, everybody that's on there is somebody that I would say is a trusted vendor. And for those that don't know, if you're looking, like there are hundreds of fraud sites out there now, and that, like, a couple of the easiest things that you can do to eliminate or help eliminate the chances of fraud if you're buying is, one, if you can add 100 of anything to your cart, it's not a site that I would trust. If you can add 20 or 30 or 40,000 primers, it's probably not a valid site. If you can add, 200 pounds of a powder, like if I could find 4350 and put 200 pounds in my cart, I probably wouldn't trust it, that kind of thing. Yeah, John.
What I found was the best way to check for fraud was if they don't take Visa,
That's where I
they're
was going
not.
next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one is with quantities, right? And then the other is with credit card. If they only take something like Bitcoin, Zelle, PayPal, um, some of those, like, some of those payments where you have zero recourse. If they don't take Visa, MasterCard, or whatever your country's credit card is, um, then I wouldn't trust it either. So yes, John, absolutely. So those are the two
And
things you can kind of do to suss out, you know, um, whether a site is valid. So yeah, quantities and credit cards. That's the easiest thing. On to the next part of the question. I think there is always some running changes that you're going to see, like the 180s, like with the bullets, for instance. Burger 180s today are probably in some way, and they'll even say slightly different than a couple, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Like, they're always making some very slight adjustments and tweaks to improve quality. I'm sure with brass, there is always going to be some variance in the copper supplied or brass supplied, whatever, jackets, brass, anything like that. There's going to be tolerances they accept, but I mean, I would have to believe that over time there's probably slight differences in that. But to answer the bigger question, I've not noticed any difference over the years with the brass. Like, I don't think, like, there's people who swear that the old Lapua gold boxes are better and different than the blue box Lapuas, and then there's people that think the light blue boxes are better than the dark blue plastic boxes, and then now there's shipping Lapua in paper boxes with their individually stacked brass, so it's not all commingled in a box. And so now there's theories that, maybe the blue box is better, the light, the dark blue box, which was the last plastic box, is better than the new. I really don't care. Like, it all shoots great for me. I get tons of firings out it. I think how you treat your brass with something like Lapua, how you treat your brass is going to have a larger effect on how many firings, how, like, all that kind of stuff, more than a slight difference from lot to lot, if you, and so I strictly sort and I point. And again, that's what works for me. Everybody's got a little bit different, but if you watch that Cortina sorting die video that I did, I sort by 5,000ths now. You could do 3,000ths and test it and see what works for you. But I'll sort 2, 3, 4,000 bullets at a time, and everything goes into two groups basically. So I have a plus or minus 5 and a plus, and then another plus or minus 5 off that, so -5 +5. and then I've got outliers, and so 4 boxes. That's all I do now, and I've been really happy with it. And so when people ask, like, I almost feel dumb sometimes because people, like, especially after I won nationals, people are like, "Oh man, you must do all this and this," and I'm like if I tell people how I really reload, I get the dumbest looks because people just go, "No, you're lying." Like people think I'm lying to them. They think, "Oh, like he doesn't want to tell us what he's really doing," and it's like, no, like I anneal dirty brass, I size dirty brass, I tumble it, I expand it, I trim it, I prime it, and I load it. Like that's it. you know. Now, I'm pretty good at each of those steps, and I've refined my process on each step. So I do it in a way that's really repeatable, and I know exactly what it's doing. So it sounds simple, but there's still a lot of there's still a lot of time involved in each of those steps to get it where I wanted it. But like that's it. I sort bullets by length. I point them. That thing always does those automatic thumbs ups. And then I uniform my primer pockets once when I get it. When it's virgin brass, I uniform them once. I don't uniform the flash holes anymore. And that's it. You know, give me 1 second here. So I'll explain while I'm looking, but there's a set of earmuffs. So it's not the Walkers. What's the other ones? Hmm. And what they do is there's a really nice, they're like 20 or $30, but they make a gel cover for it. And it makes wearing them unbelievably comfortable. And for the life of me, I know it's not the Walkers. Just can't think of what brand it is. And driving me nuts.
See the Lightners, maybe.
Yes, the Howard Lights. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. So let me find this thing here. So Howard Lights make, let's see, gel cups. Here we go. Okay, let me see it. Yeah, so here we go. Let me show you. So this changed my world with wearing hearing protection because I used to have those Pro Golds that are massive and they work great, but they're massive. I hate they're way too big. There's no way I can shoot with those things on there. However, if you go and I can always get a link for you guys, but so there's a couple different brands of these, but they are a gel and they snap right in. Like you literally take the Howard Lights and you pop them out. You pop out this like hard plastic, and I just threw them away. And these are a really it feels like memory foam, but it's a gel, and you can wear these things for hours, and it's like a pillow on your head. And so it's worth, like, for me, I was fortunate. I just happened to have a pair of Howard Lights laying around, and I learned this from Eric. So when I was shooting with Eric like a year and a half ago, I was out at his place and we were talking about this, and I'm like, oh, I hate these. Like, I just hate wearing this stuff. And I looked at his and I felt him and I was like, oh my gosh, like these are amazing. And he goes, yeah, he goes, I've had these for years and it's just gel cup. And I'm like, oh, it sounds expensive. He's like, no. So I looked it up when I got home and I replaced them right away. So you guys can see there's a lot of different brands. And again, they just replace. So if you're familiar with these Howard Lights, they have this really, like, it is horrifically thin, hard, ear cup right here, but it's held in. It's, let me see here. See right here, there's like a little catch, and there's a couple of those all around. There's another one here. There's about 6 of these things. And you literally just take a little screwdriver, the ear cup pops right out, and those gel cups go right in. And if you have them, and I'm sure they make them for other brands. I just happen to know that the most common one is the Howard Lights. They are amazing. And then I also bought this or something like it. I can't remember what brand it was, but it Velcros over the top. And I don't know if there's a good, this guy says it's easy to install. It just Velcros around, but it does give some padding on the top of the head too. So everything just fits. I have these in combination with the gels, And I take those to the big matches with me. And so anytime I'm not shooting, I'm wearing the electronics because I have, it's for safety purposes. It's easier for me to hear, like if I'm scoring for people or in the pits or anything like that. Obviously, it's better from a safety perspective. And then they give really good protection as well. So I do carry both, but I shoot in my custom plugs and then I wear the electronics with those gel cups and everything any other time that I'm not shooting. So hopefully, the first thing to understand is if there's 3 people to a squad, then 1 pulls targets and then 2 are going to shoot and score. There's always going to be 2 at the firing line because you always have to have a shooter and a scorer, and then you'll have 1 person pulling targets. If you're at a match with 4 relays, then you're going to have 2 in the pits, 2 shooting. But even at big matches like Nationals or Southwest, there's times where 1 of the 4 people don't show up. And in those cases, there's going to be 1 in the pits and 2 shooting. So that's just the way that it goes. When that happens, yes, it's going to be, so for instance, like first match of the day, relays 1 and 2 are going to stay at the firing line, and then 3 and 4 go to the pits. Relay 1 is going to shoot. Relay 2 is going to score. Then they're going to flip. Relay 2 is going to shoot, and relay 1 is going to score. Then they're going to go to the pits. 3 and 4 come out, and typically they're going to shoot 3, 4, and then that's the end of match 1 because all 4 relays have shot. Then everything stays in place. They go to match 2, 3, 4 shoot again. Then they'll go to the pits. 1 and 2 come out. They're going to shoot the last of the second match, 1, 2. Then they stay in place. Match 3 starts. 1, 2 shoots again. Then they go to the pits. 3, 4 come out and finish it off. Does that make sense? Crossfires happen. You take it, you move on. Stuff happens. The one thing that I will tell you, and this is when you have pulled targets like at Nationals or not all Nationals, but if you have pulled targets where somebody's actually pulling targets and marking, it's pretty rare you're ever going to miss a crossfire. Like crossfires are 99% owned, right? If something comes up or something doesn't go down, people typically own their crossfires. What's really unfortunate in electronic target matches is the blatant lack of ownership for crossfires. And I see it a lot. And it's really unfortunate because you'll have a very clear crossfire count. Like I've scored for, I can't tell you how many times I've been scoring for somebody and I'm watching my shooter. He has not fired and a shot comes up, and a good shot, 910X, right? And I'll be like, crossfire on whatever, target 13. Nothing, right? And so, like it really is unfortunate that happens with electronic targets. So I do see it, but with pulled targets, you almost never see it. So the only thing I can tell you is crossfires are part of the game, whether you like it or not. Man up, take the loss, and move on. Like it's what you have to do. So if you're at a match, you can, like maybe you're setting up your gun, but you're going to be shooting. So at a big match, like at Nationals or Southwest, you set up two to a line. So if I'm relay 1 or relay 2, typically relay 1 and 2 are going to set up at the same time. But if I'm relay 2, I'm not going to be shooting for half an hour. So if I set up and I put my gun out, and especially if it's windy, dusty, anything like that, I don't want it getting all over my gun. And so I have this, which it's going to be hard to show, but it's just a Cordura type nylon, whatever, cover that goes over my entire gun lengthwise to keep wind, it keeps dust off of my lens. It keeps dust out of the end of my barrel. If I'm shooting with somebody, like I've had it. So like I've shot with guys that are shooting like a 300 Wisdom or something that really kicks up the dirt. And maybe because of where their barrel is, the muzzle is a little ahead of mine. And then when he shoots and it's windy, it kicks up stuff and it blows into your gun, and you want to keep stuff out of your muzzle. I've been at matches where I've literally turned my gun up and dust and dirt has fallen out of my action. That's that dirty and dusty out. So I'm a huge fan of putting, anytime I'm not shooting, this is over my gun. Like, it doesn't matter. This is over my gun, just to keep anything out of my action, anything out of the muzzle, and to keep any dirt, dust, sand off of my optics. However, these are really tough to find. They make, like on Amazon, you can find these like elastic ones, but they're not very easy to put on a gun, much less one of our guns, which have bigger barrels, bigger scope, stuff like that. They're kind of made more for like lightweight hunting guns. This is actually, I bought off Creedmoor. They make a bench cover. So it's for somebody who shoots off a bench and wants to cover the whole, like their front rest and everything. And, and for that one, what it is see this is duct tape right here, this white stuff, but it goes to like here. And so all I did is buy one and I just sliced it, and I don't really know how to sew. So I just used duct tape to seam it. And so that's all I did. I just made it that height, and it fits perfectly over my guns, and it's what I need. And I take it everywhere. Like this thing, I would not go to a match without this thing. And if I went to a match and forgot this, I would feel very lost. Like, this is as close to a blankie that I've ever had in shooting. And I know that sounds silly, but I just love having this thing. Not only that, like, it's really easy to find your gear. If you walk away and you're not paying attention to where you are on the line, it's really easy to go, okay, there's my stuff. Or if somebody needs something, you can just say, hey, go over there, see where the blue cover is, go grab whatever you need. So for me, that's what I use. Again, it's one of those things that like nobody makes a great option for. I've seen at some of the matches, there's a competitor, there's a TR shooter. I don't know who it is. They make something similar. I don't know what they cost. I want to say this was like $30 or something. You could probably go to Joann's, and if you're handy with a sewing machine, you could make something with, ripstop material that, if it's maybe a little, dewy out, got a little moisture in the air. You want something that's, not going to absorb a ton of moisture. Like, you don't want cotton or something on there. But, this is just like a polyester Cordura something. Hey, I really appreciate everybody that showed up. Great participation. And, don't be afraid. I always say this, don't be afraid to send me private messages. It's part of what you guys pay for to be here. I'm happy to answer stuff. If you message me and I've got an email address just dedicated to giving you guys, if you need to send me targets. I still do all the messaging through Patreon, but if I need to look at a target or something to help you guys, we can do that now. I really appreciate, as always, everybody's support. I hope anything I'm doing is helping you guys improve. And thanks again for coming here. So I hope you guys have a good one. I'm going to be at SHOT Show in a week and a half, so I should have a lot of fun videos coming out of that one. If there's something, I can't guarantee it, but feel free to message me if there's something that you're really curious about me going to see. I'll do my best to go see it. I've got a lot of interviews already lined up, so it's going to be busy. But if there's something that you're really curious about, let me know. And
more 22.
What?
More 22. Less cowbell, more 22.
You'll definitely see more 22 when my voodoo shows up. So, all right, guys. Thanks a lot. As always.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
All right. Bye, guys.